Shuckalugga kapow. How's it going, old schoolers? You're kicking it old school at Russell JS, and I'm your host, Russell JS. We're going to do another album versus album, track by track. I got two great classic self titled debut albums. One band had been touring and recording from, for so long, where it took their live album to make them the big stars that they are today. And one album is from a band where somebody from the other band discovered them at a club, flew them out to New York, made a demo of their original material, but didn't go nowhere until they got signed in 1978 and put out their self-titled debut record. We've got You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, the hottest band in the world, Kiss, versus the almighty Van Halen. Both are great albums. I love them both. I mean, Eddie Van Halen became a household name overnight. Their success, just like with Kiss. But you know what? They're going to duel it out. They're going to go track versus track. We're going to see which of these two great, awesome, classic albums, debut albums, is the all-time great. And remember, if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit a like, subscribe, leave comments in the box down below, ring the bell for notifications. And I also want to introduce you to a friend of mine. Say hi, Ollie. This is Ollie. He's a rescue dog. He got rescued from a what do you call it? From some dog breeders. He's a mix of pug and French bulldog, and he's come to our family. He's bringing joy. There he is. Hi, old schoolers. Hi, old schoolers. Oh, there he is. Look, he wants attention. He wants in. He wants to be a star. Look at him. Look at him. But without further ado, I want to do this album versus album, and then I'm going to take time to go ahead and play with Ollie so he could have time with me. And remember, if you're new to the channel, hit a like, subscribe, leave comments in the box below, tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell everybody that's into old school stuff about this channel. All right, let's see. We're going to save Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears versus Robert Plant, Fate of Nations for another time. Now we go to Kiss self-titled versus Van Halen self-titled. Okay, here we go. Track number one, Strutter versus Running with the Devil. You know, I can't put one against the other. I love both these songs. So that's a tie right there for Van Halen and Kiss. Nothing to Lose versus Eruption. Not a big fan, despite the fact that Peter Criss sings lead vocals on that. I'm not a big fan of Nothing to Lose. And Eruption is like some kind of instrumental, a real awesome instrumental intro. So Van Halen gets the point there. Firehouse versus You Really Got Me. Firehouse, I love that song. I love how when Kiss do it in concert, at the end of the song, you hear the sirens wailing, and Gene Simmons pulls up that big torch and breathes fire out of it. And You Really Got Me, despite the fact it's a Kinks tune, I love the way Van Halen orchestrates it, so, both get a point. Cold Gin versus Ain't Talking About Love. That's a song Ace Frehley wrote, even though he didn't sing lead on it, and he wouldn't sing lead until Shock Me from Love Gun in 1977. Great. I mean, Gene sings the lead on it. It's a great tune, and Ain't Talking About Love, like David Lee Roth really wails on that tune, with his vocal range. And you know what? I can't put, again, that's a tie. Let Me Know versus I'm the One. Yeah, Van Halen gets that one. I'm not a big fan of Let Me Know. Kissin' Time versus Jamie's Crying. That's a 1950s tune. It was a promotional piece to get Kiss out there where people were into kissing contests and everything. And it's kind of silly. So, you know what? No point there for Kiss, but 1 point for Van Halen. Deuce versus Atomic Punk. What a great lead vocal Gene Simmons does on this anthem. You know, about going ahead, rocking and rolling, and girls letting their men know that they're worth their time. And you know what? And let's see, it's going up against Atomic Punk. So Kiss gets a point for that, and so does Van Halen. Atomic Punk is also awesome. Love Theme from Kiss versus Feel Your Love Tonight. Originally, that's a song called Acrobat, where it does have vocals. But what happened was, I guess the record company, they were doing this thing, oh, everybody's got a love theme. We'll have the band do a love theme, and we'll make it an instrumental. But, look for the original song. It's called Acrobat. And, it's pretty good. I like it, and I got to give both, and I love Feel Your Love Tonight. So, again, I got to give points to both bands. 100,000 Years versus Little Dreamer. Not really a big fan of Little Dreamer. But 100,000 Years, I love that bass intro that Gene puts into the song. And it's really killer. And then he goes bump, 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 bump. And then it breaks out the whole band. And then Paul just goes ahead and delivers with that lead vocal. So 1 point for Kiss. All right, Black Diamond versus Ice Cream Man. Oh, Black Diamond is an awesome track. I love the intro with the guitars where Paul starts it off with the vocals going, out on the street for a living, like that. And then he yells, hit it. And the band gets into the groove. Peter's drumming and singing the tune. And it ends with this really rad guitar solo from Ace Frehley. Ice Cream Man is a cover of an old 50s tune. And the way Van Halen recreated that song, it's awesome. It's cool. That's one of my favorites. I love them both. So points for both. And now the end result. We've got Kiss self-titled with 8 points. And Van Halen self-titled with 9 points. So that means Van Halen wins this round right here. Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's too bad because you know what? This self-titled debut album by Kiss, it's probably one of their best albums in my book. It's one of the best to date. Their first album, it didn't make a whole lot of noise. Their first 3 albums didn't make a whole lot of noise till 75's Kiss Alive, the double live album set. And then before you know it, Kiss is a household name. Then they put out Destroyer with Detroit Rock City, and then Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun. Then they do Alive 2, and before you know it, Kiss becomes a juggernaut of coloring books, color form sets, poster sets, t-shirts, remote control vans, dolls, puppets, marionette puppets, and even a Marvel comic, special edition Marvel comic, where the band members' blood was mixed into the ink. And I can't even begin to imagine how much that comic book is worth right now in mint condition. And then all 4 Kiss members each did a solo record. They released their first ever best of called Double Platinum. And then Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. And then they would go ahead and continue on. There'd be turmoils, in the years to come where band members would depart, the makeup would come off. But you know what? Kiss would still continue going and going. But there you have it. Van Halen wins this round once again against Kiss. As you can see, let me show you right here. Boy, a lot have beaten Kiss. And it's not that I don't like Kiss. I love Kiss. They're one of my favorites. But, I guess, other bands, their albums have, more better songs than Kiss. But where is it? Yep, there it is. Where Van Halen for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge beat Kiss Revenge by 9 points. There you have it. Anyway, let me go ahead and Ollie, there you are, buddy. Let's show the audience. Let's show all the audience at home how wonderful and how fun you are. Go get it. He's a pup. He's a year old. But you know what? He's in a good home now. We love him. You know, we love him as much as we loved Gus. You know, and I hope maybe in the comments you want to go ahead and say hi to Ollie. You know, I think he would like that. Wouldn't you, Ollie? Ollie, wouldn't you like that? Wouldn't you like the audience? Wouldn't you like all the old schoolers to say hi to you? Come on, people. Look at this face. Look at him. Look at this. Look at this boy. He's a little shy, too. At any rate, I got to go ahead and play with Ollie. I want to wish you all, as usual, to keep it real, keep it chill, keep it awesome, keep it, tubular. Listen to old school music. Watch 80s movies. Watch old school TV. Play some Atari. Play some Nintendo. Get you enough of love. Get you enough of peace, tranquility, whatever you desire that you want to get enough of. And I also wish you all Godspeed. May the force be with you always. And shuckalaka kapow.